All right, for Toru Tanaka. For Big Time Wrestling, the Hawaii affiliate, the NWA North American Heavyweight title, the Hawaii version once. For All California Championship Wrestling, their tag title twice with the High Chief Peter Maivia. For California Pro Wrestling, their heavyweight title and the Brass Knuckles title. For Championship Wrestling from Florida, their tag title with Dick Slater. For the Continental Wrestling Association, which eventually became the USWA, which was just Memphis Wrestling in general. The AWA Southern Tag titles with Mr. Fuji. Or no, No, it was, yes. For Georgia Heavyweight Championship Wrestling, their heavyweight title, the Macon title, and the Georgia Tag titles twice with Assassin number 2 and Mr. Fuji. For L&G Promotions, the Caribbean Heavyweight title. For the NWA, the Southeastern Heavyweight title, the Northern Division, which is kind of ironic for a Southeast title, but whatever, twice. The Northeast Championship Wrestling, under, I guess, Tom Jannette was the booker at the time, their heavyweight title. For the original Big Time Wrestling, which became World Class, the NWA American Heavyweight title, which became the World Class Heavyweight title. The NWA American Tag title, which became the World Class Tag title with Thunderbolt Patterson. And the NWA Brass Knuckles title, the Texas version, 4 times. For NWA Hollywood, their America's title, heavyweight title, and the America's Tag title with Dr. Hiroto Ota. For NWA New Zealand, the British Empire heavyweight title twice. For Southeastern Championship Wrestling, the tag titles with Mr. Fuji. For World Championship Wrestling in Australia, the IWA World Heavyweight title twice, and the IWA World Tag titles with Skull Murphy. For the Worldwide Wrestling Federation and WWE, were the inaugural WWF International Tag Team Champions with Misu Arakawa, I believe. I hope I didn't say that wrong. The WWF Tag titles, or WWE Tag titles, became the World Tag Team titles 3 times with Mr. Fuji, and of course the Hall of Fame. But Tanaka was a tough motherfucker, to be honest. A lot of the Japanese wrestlers were, but especially in that era. Primo Kanada. A man that, both in boxing and in wrestling, was a guy to be a part with. There's a guy to just fear in general, but just to put in context as far as his boxing career is, some of the names he would have faced in this era would be people like Joe Louis, would be people like, excuse me, and the list is kind of just going back and forth here. People like Joe Louis, people like Jack Taylor at the time, kind of all over the world as far as boxing is concerned. Just a lot of people in general, kind of a who's who. But as far as that record, it is an impressive one at 89-14. And as far as his boxing record accolades, he did have the IBU, the International Boxing Union, their heavyweight title. The National Boxing Association, which eventually is now the WBA, their heavyweight title, and when the Athletic Commissions had their titles for the New York State Athletic Commission, their heavyweight title. But as far as wrestling is concerned, had a decent career as well. For the NWA Hollywood, their international tag title once with Bobo Brazil. And for NWA San Francisco, their World Tag Team title, San Francisco version, was Sandor Zabazo. And, of course, the Hall of Fame. But, a guy you did not want to mess with again, just because of his boxing pedigree. Next up, we have Mr. Joseph Conan. Conan was kind of more known for making a lot, and I'm excuse me if I'm spacing out a little bit, but Conan, from my recollection, was one of the people that helped make those TV deals possible with Madison Square Garden network, their network, and of course creating the USA network and having that connection with WWE through the MSG network at the time, made that connection for USA. But was a well respected man, a great man in general, and honestly, without him, we do not know what WWE's future would be at that time. Next up, Hisashi Shima was the president of the Worldwide Wrestling Federation or the WWF around 78 to 84. But, Shima was one of the people there, but was mostly for international tours. One of his most famous moments under his presidency was vacating the title from Antonio Inoki, who won it against Bob Backlund at the time. It was weird. It was a weird thing that happened. At that time, Bob Backlund was the champion. Inoki won the title, but overruled the decision due to interference with Tiger Jeet Singh. Inoki refused to accept the belt at that time because Backlund at the time regained it a couple nights later. Inoki refused the belt. Backlund regained it at that time. Backlund's loss at that time was not acknowledged by WWE, and officially, Inoki never held the WWE Championship, but it was still on the record, but just not in an official capacity, at least what WWE acknowledges. But as far as his accomplishments for Shima, I almost said Shahama, I almost combined both names, but whatever. For Tokyo Sports Lifetime Achievement Award in 83, for Wrestling Observer Newsletter, their Hall of Fame in 96, and the Hall of Fame for WWE. A great guy, but, not really known or remembered at that time, unfortunately. And when we come back, we have two more names to go through.